Mobilize, congratulations to you, Eric. Fifi and I both saw the news. You won the Emmy Award for Best Screenplay, breaking the record in film history. Listening to Lu Xiaoli's compliment on the other side, Eric was a little strange. Does Huaxia still pay attention to the Emmys? Now, it doesn't introduce American dramas. There is definitely no live broadcast, but Sina, Sohu, and some websites will have text and picture news, and many people will watch it. Feifei, why don't you talk again? Don't you have a lot to say to Eric? Mom. Eric laughed and said, Okay, don't embarrass Crystal. Have you worked hard lately? Lu Yifei hummed sweetly. After returning to Huaxia, I have been studying very hard, and now I have muscles in my arms. The women in our class, they are a few years older than me, but they are not as strong as me. Well done, you must insist on enriching yourself, and after a while, you will come here to shoot Evil Force. When MGM starts a big production next year, I'll reserve a role for you, and it will involve playing, so you're ready. Really? Asked Lu Yifei in surprise. Of course it's true. Did I lie to you? Lu Yifei pouted, thinking that you must not have deceived me, but I don't know if you have deceived my mother. Lu Xiaoli's eager voice sounded on the other side of the phone again. Eric, is it an important role? Supporting roles, but we'll design a few brilliant fight scenes, so the opportunity is in their own hands. What about the filming time? Is it decided? Do you need to let Fei vacate the schedule? Eric thought about it, and when the Transformers are released in November, Godot will have to run the whole world to promote it, at least for more than a month. Then take a break and attend various galas and award ceremonies, and it is estimated that the start time of The Hunger Games will not be until February or even March. The startup time is about February and March. Let's set aside a 2-month schedule. Do you have a play in your hands now? No, but many crews want Fei to join. There is a Xianxia drama adapted from a game that she likes very much, and Fei wants to take it. But the start time of this TV series is also February next year, and I'm afraid the schedule will conflict. As soon as Lu Xiaoli said it, Eric knew which drama it was, and it must be The Legend of Sword and Fairy that laid the foundation for Bai Yueguang in many people's hearts. One is a TV series that is bound to be popular, and the other is a movie that may help her open the door to Hollywood. If there is no Eric as a guide, it must be the first choice, but with his help, there is no doubt about how to choose. Then tell the producer that it's best if the TV series is willing to postpone filming, and if you don't want to postpone it, refuse it. Hollywood is more important. His reply also hit the heart of Lu Xiaoli and Lu Yifei, and they can figure out which is more important, movie or TV series. Hanging up the phone, Eric turned on his computer and found that the entertainment section had been swiped by last night's Emmy Awards. The youngest Emmy Award for Best Screenplay in history is born. At 23, he broke the record, and Nicole Kidman gave him a fragrant kiss. The Emmys break the convention, and the college bravely chooses to be young this time. The Emmy Awards ratings are out, and the peak is because of a kiss. She called me a knight at the Oscars, and I called her Lady Luck at the Emmys. A small half of the news about him was there, especially the kiss between Nico and him on stage, which was even more hyped. Compared with what is the best service, the best editing, and the best sound, this kind of side-rubbing news can attract attention. However, Nico stayed a little bit at the Vanity Fair party last night and was interviewed about the kiss. She said that she and Eric Cooper are very good friends, and celebrating her good friend doesn't mean anything. Besides, Adrian Brody kissed Halle Berry wildly. What's wrong with me kissing twice? But the scandal between the two half a year ago was turned over again, and many gossip tabloids speculated wildly, taking the opportunity to fry a pot of back-pot meat. And the trophy for Best Screenplay also made Eric show his face once, and many media and netizens called him a genius screenwriter. There are even fans of The Walking Dead who predict that Adele's Life, which he wrote and directed, is likely to hit the Oscars. If it can win the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay again, then this title of the youngest best in history will almost impossible for anyone to break in the future. However, there are praises and doubts, and there are many fans of White House, 6 Feet Under, 24 Hours, and CSI Crime Scene Investigation. These people question the fairness of the awards. What is good about The Walking Dead? Is it not killing zombies? Where can the logic and rigor of the script be reflected? The Independent once again jumped out to say the opposite, insinuating that Eric is a billionaire who is already invincible just by virtue of his status as MGM at the helm. This award has long been decided, and other nominees have been destined to accompany them from the beginning. However, this argument is also believed by many people. Hatred of the rich exists everywhere, especially when you are a rich second generation. Suzu. The phone that had just hung up called again, and when he looked down, it was Han Sanping. Old Han, you called early in the morning, and you came to congratulate me again. It's morning on your side, but it's late at night on my side, and I'm worried that it will affect your rest, so I won't make this call until now. There is a heart, there is a heart. Ha 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 ha, I've been thinking about you in my heart, you busy man. When will you have time to come to Huaxia to play? Eric sighed. Now I'm making a show, counting post-production, it's October, and then I have to prepare for the release of Transformers, and I can't get away for the time being. Anyway, the last few months will be very busy, there will be opportunities, and it will be a long time coming. I think you are deliberately shirking. We elementary school students here all know a famous saying, time is like water in a sponge. As long as you squeeze, it will always be there. It depends on whether you are sincere or not. Feeling that the other party was a little extraordinary today, Eric couldn't help asking, Old Han, you are in such a hurry to let me go. Is there something wrong with you? Hear that? Probably. Hee, I won't hide it from you. It's mainly about MGM in the East. From the lifting of the ban to the present, the company's structure has gradually been complete, and it won't take long for all the funds to be in place, and it's time to carry out the work. Originally, I was not the person in charge of the company, but I was the direct matchmaker of the project after all, so the burden of our optoelectronic bureau was put on me. Now, in addition to Huaying, I am also the vice president of MGM in the East, and to put it bluntly, I am in charge of all the daily work. Eric understood that Han Sanping wanted political achievements. After hesitating for a moment, Eric still asked, Old Han, are you about to straighten out? Eric is an American, and Han Sanping didn't need to hide it from him, so he admitted it directly. As soon as the first MGM project was launched, I was confident that I would ask the leadership, Eric, and that was important to me. What about Susan? Didn't you communicate with her? There was communication, but there were problems, mainly because there was a big disagreement between the people on my side and the people on your side on the creative choices. The leadership side hopes to show more Chinese elements, but the people on your side feel that such works cannot go to the world, and Ms. Susan has been coordinating to find a compromise as soon as possible. Eric said, there is bound to be a process of cultural running, so you can't wait? In the system, who doesn't want to progress? Otherwise, I don't have to beg you directly. My future is hanging on you, brother. Oh well, MGM has a backlog of scripts in his library. I'll find out if there's a suitable one. If not, I'll write one for you. That's great. If you, the best screenwriter, make a move, I'm very grateful, brother. I've also helped you think about it. Transformers will definitely be released in China, and my promise is here. Even if it is a large scale, even if it is as dewy as Titanic, it will not be cut. When the time comes, you come here to run a day or two of publicity. Let's discuss the project well, and I will also do a little bit of the friendship of the landlord. I'll talk about this then. If nothing else, I'll go. In addition to the project, I also want to talk to you about the introduction of TV dramas and variety shows. MGMs. Well, I want to establish a stable mechanism for the introduction of American dramas, and there are a lot of excellent works in my hand and in the library. We'll talk about it when you come. Okay. Hanging up the phone, Eric began to think about cooperation projects, and he was under the impression that there were very few successful Sino-US co-productions, including Megalodon and Kung Fu Panda 3. And Megalodon is a typical commercial film, and shark disaster movies are a theme that can be eaten all over the world, and they are not limited to the era. And the cost of the movie is medium, and both parties can afford it, so it is a genre that can be tried. After thinking about it for a moment, Eric decided that it would be the end of it. When the time came to October, House of Cards was finally completed. Sent away Kevin Spacey and Robin White with complicated faces, and if they were to write a memoir in the future, the memory must be very deep. As an assistant director, Andrea has obviously lost a lot of weight. Eric, your assistant director will definitely not look for me again in the future. I'm tired. Eric comforted, it's busy, but it's also very fast, isn't it? So I decided to give you a good job. Stop making short films, and go straight to movies. What? Andrea was a little surprised. Anyway, take a few days off. Then go to MGM to find Judy Newhouse, and then your task is to make a campus youth comedy, Mean Girls, with an investment of $15 million. What? Before Andrea could react, Neil Blomkamp had already jumped. Director, when will I be able to direct independently? He looked at Eric with flashing eyes. Your experience is not enough. You will be the assistant director of my next play, and then watch your performance. If you are qualified, that Super Runaway will be filmed for you. Thank you. Thank you, director. Andrea grabbed Eric's hand and thanked him, feeling that all the hard work was worth it. With an investment of $15 million, how many directors can't get this treatment in their lifetime? Following Eric Cooper is really the right choice. Get Out of Desperate Town was drawn some time ago, and the final box office in North America was $162 million. The overseas box office was $65 million, and the global box office was $227 million. Not only was the box office a big hit, but many film critics and fans shouted out the declaration of hitting the Oscars, especially the Black buddies who were particularly happy. Some Black radio stations even think that it is eligible to win 4 awards: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Original Screenplay. Eric can only say that you really dare to think that the current public opinion and social environment are not more than 10 years later. What's even more terrifying is that this year Peter Jackson will bring The Lord of the Rings 3, The Return of the King. The first 2 Oscars have deliberately ignored others, and fools know that this Middle-earth night will sweep the world. Among them, the 3 awards of Best Picture, Best Director, and Best Adapted Screenplay have been locked in advance by The Lord of the Rings, and other films can be nominated for success. Eric's goal is to win Best Original Screenplay and Best Actress with Get Out, Adele's Life, and The Devilish, and Don't Think Much Else. After a month of campaigning, Happy Death Day has also entered a period of weakness. At present, the North American box office has earned $73 million, and overseas has won nearly $50 million. According to the current trend, $150 million is almost the limit, and it is impossible to break $200 million. Godot is a little disappointed. A few days ago, Hold Your Breath also started, and the tense and exciting plot received most praise, and it is qualified as a popcorn movie. Michael Fassbender, Tom Hardy, and Evangeline Lilly instantly became famous. As a veteran action star who has become obsolete, the blind veteran played by Duflonger is the real protagonist of the movie. The movie also made him popular again, and now he is frequently interviewed, and there are signs of returning to his former style. Billy spent 2 months outside, successfully found a lot of good seedlings, and the preparation of The Voice began. In addition to my buckle, the other 3 mentors chose Jenny Jackson, Jay-Z, and Celine Dion, all of whom are super names in the music field. The cost of inviting the 3 of them reached $50 million, and with other expenses, the cost of The Voice in the first season would not be less than $100 million. Eric's decision-making is to do the best he can, not only to keep improving, but more importantly, to fight American Idol. Only after squeezing the other party can you monopolize the market, and the money spent can naturally be earned back. In the office, Hu Liu excitedly walked in and reported, "Boss, the review has been passed, and the rating of Transformers is PG-13. Eric smiled. He understood that the G-class was impossible, and the PG-13 class was already the best result. Okay, then post the second trailer. It's time for a massive hype. Are you all ready? Well, Optimus Prime, Megatron, Bumblebee, Red Spider, Autobots, and Decepticons have arrived in major cities." Eric looked at the date in the lower right corner of the computer. Scheduled for next Monday, viral marketing will be launched. Los Angeles, Sunset Boulevard. It's the city's star street, home to a variety of commercial amenities, and a must-see for anyone visiting Los Angeles, with a huge daily footfall. When the new week arrives, the Eek Park next to Sunset Boulevard is bustling with people gathering to take pictures and marvel. In the center of the crowd, a silver-white robot more than 2 meters tall was standing in the center. It was none other than Megatron, the leader of the Decepticon faction. This robot is carefully crafted by MGM's props department, and it has various built-in mechanisms, although it cannot be moved. But through remote control, Megatron's hands and feet can already make small movements. Coupled with professional voice actors hiding in the shadows to speak, the effect is definitely far from the later Universal Studios version. However, in the current era, it is beyond people's imagination. Stupid human, I'm from Cybertron, 3 billion light-years away from Earth, and you can call me Megatron. My Tinder source was stolen by a despicable thief, and now I'm looking for a pair of glasses with the coordinates of the Tinder source engraved on the lenses. In his mechanical voice, Megatron's eyes suddenly glowed blue. Some people screamed and retreated, not knowing whether they were deliberately cooperating or really frightened. After all, the latter is not absolutely impossible, because happy education really gave birth to a lot of idiots. Naturally, the blue light was not a weapon, but a holographic projection built into Megatron's head. The camera projects a pair of glasses in the air through the eyes, which are none other than Sam's glasses in the movie. And a web address is clearly displayed on the lens, which is the Transformers promotional website specially established by MGM, and the full set of plays is done, so that everyone can have a sense of participation. You little bugs, write down this URL, and leave a message on the website after finding clues. Everyone who leaves a message, I will regard it as a slave to the Decepticons, and when I conquer the Earth, I will spare you a small life. The two mechanical arms danced, and in the domineering voice, they set off the mighty Megatron. A young man walked out and asked, "Megatron, I'm a fan of Transformers. Can I take a picture with you?" Megatron waved his hand and said with some disgust, "No, humans are low-level carbon-based creatures, and there is a natural gap between them and a higher mechanical life form like me, so you don't deserve to take a picture with me." The young man was a little disappointed, and he couldn't decide whether to go near or not. After all, such a large and moving robot had never been seen before, and the unknown was mixed with fear. Seeing this, his girlfriend stood up and said, "Mr. Megatron, I have written down the URL, and I will definitely help you find your glasses. Can you take a group photo now?" Megatron nodded slightly. "Okay, for the sake of your knowledge, I will allow you to come within 1 meter of me." When the young man finished the group photo, another little boy with snot bubbles jumped out and shouted, "Mr. Megatron, I want to take a picture with you too. Is that okay?" "Well, come here, but don't rub your snot on my skin. It'll rust." Ha 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 ha. The crowd of onlookers burst into laughter. "And you have to obediently take medicine and injections. Your cold can be cured, understand?" "Yes, sir." After a few questions and answers, everyone also saw that this is the movie is engaged in publicity, and such a unique publicity method is indeed very eye-catching. It didn't take long for the reporters who received the news to rush over and put the lively scene into the camera. Megatron, I hate the Decepticons. I'm a fan of Optimus Prime. Then you should go to Boston. The damn red truck landed in that city. Megatron, how many times has the Red Spider betrayed you? Countless times. Then, why don't you kill him and get him back into the Decepticons? Because I want the manufacturer to sell toys. I can't do anything. Ha 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 too. More young men approached and bowed to Megatron. Lord Megatron, we are willing to be your faithful servants. Very well. Do you know the slogan of the Decepticons? Of course I do. Shout out loud and open the eyes of these ignorant humans. I saw one of the young men raise his arms and raise his head. Decepticon. The one next to him shouted, retreat. After shouting, the two immediately ran away, and the crowd of onlookers immediately burst into laughter. Megatron shook his head a little speechlessly, and after a while he held back a sentence. Very good, loud voice, very energetic. Tease's reaction brought the originally calm laughter back to life. Megatron is just one of many Transformers, and similar situations are playing out in major cities around the world. Times Square in New York, Golden Gate Bridge in San Francisco, Arc de Triomphe in Paris, Big Ben in London, Tokyo Tower, Red Square in Moscow, Kingdom Tower in Riyadh, Oriental Pearl Tower in Shanghai. As long as you pass by, you will not be attracted by the tall and domineering Transformers. This on-site interaction is part of viral marketing. The so-called viral marketing, simply understood, is to use all resources to fully mobilize the enthusiasm and relationship network of consumers, so as to achieve the rapid replication and dissemination of information. Everything here is literal, both online and in reality, so that consumers can see as much as they can see and all marketing information is there. Whether it's active or passive, you have to accept it if you don't accept it. So this time MGM also invested in the promotion and took out the treatment that the blockbuster should have, and the budget funds Eric directly approved $70 million, which was not enough to add more. Counting the production costs, the total cost of a Transformers from filming to release has exceeded $220 million. Not to mention that in 2003, even in 2023, it will be the scale of an A-level production. However, this money is not actually spent because the government can ask for a tax refund, and the preferential terms vary from region to region. Put it back after getting the money, the actual total cost is less than $150 million. But when it comes to external publicity, it is natural to play the slogan of 220 million yuan, which sounds bluffing, and the audience is interested. So it's like how high the cost of official publicity for many movies is. Don't believe it. Whoever believes it is a fool. The advertised figures are all water-contained, and after ringing out, cut off 30% first, and then save 50% if you have a wider range of channels. For example, the cost of a movie in the later period of Marvel often exceeds $200 million, but in fact, it is all fake, and it is not so high at all. The cost is reduced, and the corresponding return on investment pressure is much smaller. Unlike the Chinese box office that can only recover the cost when it reaches 3 times the cost, Hollywood can recover the cost by 2 times or more than 2 times. Coupled with Hollywood's perfect copyright protection and development system, as well as the ultimate peripheral development capabilities. Even if a movie loses more than $100 million at the box office, the golden period of copyright within 5 years can generally pay off, and the good ones can even make a profit. And such well-known big productions as The Lord of the Rings, The Matrix, and Titanic can sell for more than $100 million every year for various copyright fees. Therefore, even if a large company looks to lose a lot of money in several blockbusters a year, it is difficult to go bankrupt under the protection of a series of systems. After the viral marketing was launched, cinemas, stations, subways, shopping malls, supermarkets, toilets, roadside billboards, electronic screens, In reality, everywhere you can see, you can always inadvertently notice Autobots and Decepticons. Some are large posters that say on November 16th, the Decepticons will attack Earth. Some are just Transformers avatar logos. Hasbro also got started, launching a pre-sale of the movie version of the toy, and at the same time linking up with KFC, McDonald's, and Coca-Cola. As long as you buy it, you have a chance to win a movie ticket, and as for whether you can win it, it is a matter of personal luck. Transformers coasters have also appeared one after another at various comic exhibitions and COS exhibitions. COS in Europe and the United States has always been known for its props, and it has also had a lot of influence in the circle. On the big screen of Times Square and NASDAQ in New York, the second trailer of Transformers began to play in a loop. In addition to cutting into a lot of adrenaline-pumping robot fights, there is also a battle between the human army and the Decepticons. All kinds of main battle planes, tanks, and ships appeared, and the extreme explosion turned the entire city into a sea of fire and ruins. At the end of the trailer, Megatron's giant silver-white alien fighter plane slams into two skyscrapers that are very close together. There is no doubt that this shot alludes to the 9/11 incident, a picture that the whole world will never forget. On the internet, major portals, forums, and chat rooms have also begun to be gradually occupied by related topics. In addition to buying space and resources, MGM's main publicity strategy is still to hire a large number of water troops. Even the words that the Water Army is going to launch are ready in advance, and as long as a few people pour into a social group, they can quickly turn the topic away. Facebook is an important front for publicity, and the goal of the secondary school promotion plan has been achieved. Facebook's registered users are approaching 40 million, of which there are about 35 million active users, and the retention rate is quite high. Mainly because under Eric's guidance, there is a big update every month, and the version iteration speed is very fast. Especially at the end of September, the like function was just updated, and the Fits team was originally puzzled by this function. They believe that the likes feature will distract users and reduce them to tools that only know what to like, which will weaken Facebook's shareability and social nature. But at Eric's strong request, the feature was launched. And it turns out that after the launch of the like function, although users began to have a tendency to ask for likes, at the same time, the desire to share became stronger. In just 1 week, the average number of stories posted by users per day has increased by 2 because more posts can be more likes. The next step is to promote the program for the working class, and after getting the young people and children, it will be much easier to attract their parents. Beverly Hills, Cooper's house. After dinner, Eric sat on the couch and watched the news. On NBC Channel, the male host glanced at the script and said, "Betty, on the way to work today, I found something very interesting. As I passed Lincoln Avenue, I saw a large crowd of people, and I approached with the reporter's sense of smell. Then I saw the image that I will never forget, Bumblebee standing in the middle, calling on humanity to defend against the Decepticons. OMG. My favorite cartoon from my childhood has come to life, look, just like this." As he spoke, the TV screen switched to the scene shot, and Bumblebee was interacting with the onlookers, and the humorous remarks made everyone laugh from time to time. The scene cuts back to the studio, and the hostess happily says, "It's so interesting. Is this a new promotional method in the mall? I'm going to take my son to see it." The male host waved his hand and explained to her, "No, it's an Autobot. Its name is Bumblebee. Haven't you seen Transformers?" "No, I'm a girl." The hostess shrugged. "Well, then you have to check them out. You're going to love them." Oh my God, it was like my childhood dream came true. It was a great day. It was the best day. After watching it for a while, Eric switched to other channels, and not only NBC was reporting, but many TV stations couldn't ignore this hot spot. What he didn't know was that, in fact, not only American television stations could not be ignored, but even Britain, France, Japan, China, Russia, and other countries could not be ignored. The living Transformers, although they are pseudo-alive, still bring a huge sense of freshness to society, which is simply so interesting. Media coverage is equivalent to advertising a movie, and you don't have to pay a dime. In the midst of MGM's bloody investment, the bombardment of propaganda continued for nearly a month. The Transformers in major cities have become a gathering place for people, just like the internet celebrity check-in places in later generations, and they are sorry for themselves if they don't go to see it. The most popular is naturally Megatron, and the contrast between the humorous broken mouth and the ultimate villain's personality makes it popular with everyone. In mid-October, Legally Blonde 2 landed in cinemas. With the success of the previous work, and the second part has attracted attention without publicity. MGM also held a premiere for it, and at the same time arranged for Godot, Chris Evans, and the British trio to go to the platform and, by the way, use this opportunity to continue to promote the Transformers. Half a month after the movie was released, North America won $60 million, and it has just been released overseas. This data is not as bright as the first one, and the reputation has also declined compared to the first one, but making money is certain. However, when the producer signed a contract with Reese Witherspoon for the third part, she refused. The reason is also very simple. I don't want to continue to consume this IP. I hope to precipitate for a few years and wait for everyone to be more prepared before shooting. The heroine is on strike, and without the sole character, the sequel will definitely run aground. But now MGM has too many money-making projects, and it's not bad for this one. Eric didn't even take it seriously. Happy Death Day was completely drawn, and the final global box office was $152 million. Although Godot was a little disappointed, he couldn't take care of it, and now he is fully engaged in the promotion of Transformers. In the midst of the busyness, the time entered November, and major companies began to exert their efforts. The Matrix 3, Christmas Elves, Angry Seas, Polar Expedition, Kill Bill, Transformers. The fiercest box office battle of 2003 is about to begin. New York, Fifth Avenue, Marvel headquarters. Isaac Perlmutter got out of the car and hurried to the office building, more trotting than walking. When the Marvel employees saw him, they were so frightened that they quickly gave way. Perlmutter's temper was not good, and no one dared to flirt with the tiger's whiskers. Inside the elevator, one person stands in the middle, and everyone else shrinks into the corner as much as possible. Ding! As the elevator doors opened and the boss left, the others breathed a sigh of relief. Isaac Perlmutter's temper has become even more irritable lately. Many employees heard that it was because of the conflict with another senior executive of the company, Avi Arad, and the relationship between the two was originally good, but I don't know why it suddenly became tense. Knock knock. Pushing the door in, Isaac Perlmutter looked at his companion standing in front of the window, and their relationship had become tense since the last time he had spoken to Eric Cooper. For no other reason, Isaac Perlmutter wanted to swap shares, but Avi Arad disagreed. The two had talked so many times that Isaac Perlmutter couldn't remember it, so they went to live in each other's house. In order to persuade Avi Arad to exchange shares, he has opened up the relationship between the other party's family, and everyone has come together to persuade him. After more than a month of fatigue bombardment, the old man's attitude finally relented. Avi, I know you see Marvel as your child, but the problem before you now is that this child is dying of hunger. If we can't get the capital injection, Marvel will have to continue to survive, and we are likely to miss the current booming market. You don't want to mortgage the copyright anymore, the bank won't talk to us, and once the movie fails, Marvel will be doomed. Hand it over to MGM. At least the prospects are good, and Eric Cooper's abilities are well known in the industry. Isaac Perlmutter has said these words many times. With his hands on his chest, Avi Arad stood on a high place and looked down, and his eyes were full of Transformers commercials. Even when he went downstairs to buy a cup of coffee, the Starbucks logo was replaced by Autobots. Although no one knows the quality of the finished film, judging from the trailer released, it is indeed very exciting. Add to that the fact that Eric Cooper just recently won the title of Youngest Best Screenwriter in history, and everything has been proven. He is not a rich second generation who plays tickets, let alone a movie straw bag, but a real genius. Rich, powerful, capable, and able to operate and play with psychology, Marvel's superheroes may not be able to shine in their own hands. But when it comes to the other party's hands, at least the probability of shining is much greater. And in addition to MGM, Marvel can now choose from a narrow range of objects. Sony, Fox, Universal, Warner, New Line, Lionsgate, etc. were all excluded in advance because these companies held the rights that Marvel had previously sold. Warner even owns the entire DC. I can't shoot the superhero in my hand. Will I give you money to play again? What's more, there is a big IP like Universal that smashes the Hulk, and it will not touch the superhero theme again in a few years. With hundreds of millions of dollars of investment at every turn, small companies can't afford to play, so there are actually only a few options left for Marvel. Grabbing Avierad's hand back to his desk, Isaac Perlmutter said with some excitement, "And I just got another piece of good news." Eric Cooper promised that the investment for the first film would not be less than $140 million, and that he would hire the best directors and special effects team. In addition, after my mediation, he knows that you have a deep affection for Marvel, so he agreed that you can keep 2% of the shares. And to continue to be one of the Marvel management teams, the company's future growth strategy will also allow you to participate, and you are not giving up on your own children. Hearing this, Avierad's bushy beard trembled. "What you said is true." "Of course it's true. These terms can be added to the contract. You just send your own child to a better school." With some emotion in his heart, Avi Arad rubbed his Tyleon hole vigorously. As an old partner for many years, Isaac Perlmutter knows that this is a sign of the other party's inner tangle. He hurriedly added another fire. "Avi, this is really our last chance. It's too late. Look at the overwhelming publicity outside. It's been a few days since Transformers was released. And once the movie comes out, do you know what it means?" "What?" Avierad's eyes widened. "It means that MGM is going to officially start the relisting process, and the Lion's stock price will soar. A little over a month ago, Eric Cooper promised that our share of equity would likely be cut in half. Avi, you have to be clear about the fact that Marvel is going to be less and less valuable, and MGM is going to be more and more valuable. If we hadn't caught the last few days and signed the contract, we would have gotten $200 million, and we might have only had $100 million left. You have feelings for Marvel, but don't get along with money either, okay?" These words are like the last straw that breaks the camel's back, and there really is no better choice anyway, and the conditions offered by MGM are the best among several large companies. If you continue to insist, it will not be the head that will be on your shoulder, but the head of a donkey. "Isaac, let's do it, but you must not do anything with the contract. I must review it myself." Isaac Perlmutter excitedly gave Avi Arad a bear hug and hurried out of the office. "The contract has been amended many times. It's in the safe. I'll show it to you now. You can go to a lawyer. It's better if we'll fly to Los Angeles this afternoon or tomorrow morning." In the autumn in the United States, the weather has become cold, and passers-by have put on woolen coats and leather jackets. However, compared with the cold weather, the cinema has ushered in a hot period, and the major film companies have come up with their own works at the bottom of the box. Hold Your Breath only sat firmly at the box office for a week, winning $36 million at the box office, and was Disney's The New Film took away the championship. Following last year's Silverland, Mickey Mouse once again pulled out an animated movie, The Legend of the Bear. 2,511 movie theaters opened at the same time, and it seems to recognize their own positioning. engaging in 3D is really not Disney's strong point. So this time they're back in 2D and tell a touching story of an ancient legend. The G-rated rating made the film a killer for all ages, and critics and audiences also gave positive reviews, making The Legend of the Bear directly top the box office in its first week, cutting $41 million at the box office in one fell swoop. But The Legend of the Bear didn't heat up the championship either, and the second week was challenged by MGM's Legally Blonde 2 and New Line's New Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The former's 2,240 theater openings brought Legally Blonde 2 to nearly $39 million at the box office in its first week. The latter is weaker, but The Killer Way is still there and has a regular base, winning $29 million at the box office. Compared with the cost of less than $10 million, it once again proves that horror films are definitely the best choice for small and big. The two films also grossed more than $25 million in the second week of The Legend of the Bear and $13 million in the third week of Hold Your Breath. At the same time, the four films accounted for 75% of the total market share, and the remaining 51 films shared 25%, fully demonstrating the cruelty of the film market. But the ass of Legally Blonde 2 did not sit firmly, and The Pink Lawyer could only win one championship at most. Entering the fourth week of October, Diamond Company entered the cinema with its golden signature, Screaming 3, created in recent years. Not only did the heroine of the series continue to join Anna Faris, but Charlie Sheen was also invited to play the male lead. Charlie Sheen, as a well-known bad boy in Hollywood, can say that his character is rubbish, but you can't say that he is a dish. This guy's acting skills have always been online, and he belongs to an actor who can adapt to both drama and comedy. The movie spoofed a large number of IPs as usual: The Grudge, The Celestial, The Matrix, The Sixth Sense, 8 Mile, Independence Day, Hulk, and so on. Eric and Theron also contributed 2 movie tickets, which made them laugh. However, the director of Screaming 3 was replaced by David Zucker, and the original Wayans brothers were poached by AK Film and Television to shoot Sharknado 2. With the influence of the previous work and the ability to make good laughs, Screaming 3 won $49.7 million at the box office as expected, and won a box office champion. In just one October, the box office war has already made many companies and film critics shout excitement and can't stand it. The cutthroat competition has led to the failure of the box office results predicted by major organizations, all of which are millions or tens of millions of dollars lower than predicted. But where is that? Entering November, even more fierce competition is about to be staged. The first to enter the market was Disney, and Rob Minkoff, the director of The Lion King, entered the 3 major theaters with his latest masterpiece, Haunted House. The film, which cost $90 million, like Pirates of the Caribbean, was to promote the Haunted House project in Disneyland. Rob Minkoff not only filmed The Lion King, but also Elf Mouse. A few years later, he also filmed The King of Kung Fu, which was the only collaborative movie between Jet Li and Jackie Chan. Pirates of the Caribbean was a huge success, and Disney naturally had high hopes for Haunted House. It's a pity that the reality gave the big mouths a hard fight, and the box office in the first week was only $24 million. If it is a small-budget film, it is worth celebrating, but for Haunted House, it is completely unworthy of the investment and lineup of the film. And it was Warner Brothers' trump card, The Matrix 3 Matrix Revolution, that defeated it. The release date chosen for The Matrix 3 is November 5th, not Friday, but Wednesday. As I said before, those who generally play with flowers like this are either rotten or bold. In just 3 days, The Matrix 3 surged $48 million at the box office, pushing the box office of Ghost and Haunted House for a week to the ground and rubbing it. The latter was released twice as long as the former, while the former grossed twice as long as the latter. Then the New Line Company also entered the battlefield again, and on November 7th it brought the fantasy comedy Christmas Elves directed by Jon Favreau and starring Will Ferrell. In the end, after a week, Christmas Elf took home $32 million at the box office. The Matrix 3 continued to dominate, becoming the only film in more than a month to win 2 consecutive weeks at the box office. At this time, the time has come to November 14th. Hold Your Breath has been drawn in North America, and there are only a few countries left overseas that are still being released. After this fight, the global box office finally only got $136 million. Although it was still a big profit, it was the worst result in the project led by Eric. Legally Blonde 2 has also reached a month in theaters, and the global box office is currently $117 million, and it is expected that $150 million will come to an end. Today is Friday, the traditional movie premiere day, and Miramax's Arctic Expedition hits 2,900 theaters. The film has an investment of up to $150 million, and the director is Peter Weir, who has directed classic films such as Dead Poets Society and Truman's World. The starring role is Russell Crowe, who won the Oscar for Gladiator the year before last. Big production with big cast. Everything shows the potential of a box office hit, and Miramax has done enough publicity. The Weinstein brothers held the premiere and invited many celebrities to stand on the stage. For this movie, although Eric does not think that the other party can challenge Transformers, he is still ready to show respect. He also disguised himself at night and slipped into the movie theater with the Olsen sisters to watch. But after buying the ticket and entering the screening room, Eric felt that he was too worried. Because the attendance rate is very low, only a dozen people sit in the 300 seats. And when the movie was watched, his only remaining worries were thrown out of the clouds. Even the Olsen sisters said that the plot was extremely boring, and if it wasn't for Eric, the two sisters would have left the scene early. In fact, the movie was less than 40 minutes long, and the original dozen or so viewers were partially gone. As he walked, he shook his head and cursed, and words such as boring, garbage, and waste of ticket money came out of his mouth. With no worries at all, Eric was in a good mood and fought with the two sisters until dawn. Just as he expected, Arctic Expedition only earned more than $12 million at the box office on its first day. The next day was even worse, less than $9 million. On the third day, it was cut in half, and only $4 million remained. In the end, the first 3 days of the most box office only won $25 million. Compared to the $150 million investment, this figure is enough to make Miramax feel terrified. Eric could already imagine Harvey Weinstein's death. November 16th, Los Angeles, ArcLight Cinema. Once again, MGM chose this location for the premiere of Transformers. A long red carpet stretches from the inside of the theater for 100 meters to the asphalt curb. On both sides of the entrance of the movie theater, Optimus Prime, Megatron, Bumblebee, Barricade, Vertigo, Iron Sheet, and other Transformers stand on both sides, adding infinite momentum. Even if many people have already seen one of them, the scene of so many Transformers gathering is still very attractive. From daytime to dusk, tens of thousands of people checked in and took photos to share. It's a pity that the tickets for the premiere have long been sold out, and most people can only wait around to join in the fun. At 8 p.m., the cool breeze blew and the temperature dropped a lot, but there were still thousands of people watching on both sides of the red carpet. As an extended Lincoln slowly stopped, Eric led the crew to arrive first. Godot, Chris Evans, Ryan Reynolds, the British trio, Kala Savini, and others are around. Everyone has a small transformer in their hands, which is none other than Xiuzhen in the Decepticons. At first, the group was able to maintain itself, but after a few steps, everyone separated and scattered to take photos and sign autographs with fans. The red carpet is not half gone here, and the joint arrival of Johnny Depp and Hugo Mortensen has sparked a fan carnival. Captain Jack, I love you. Aragorn, sign me off. Ah. Depp is kissing female fans. Brad Pitt and his wife Jennifer Aniston are also arriving. Eric gives Rachel a heroine, and the two couples certainly know how to reciprocate. Rachel, Pete. Rachel, I love you, marry me. Aniston covered her mouth and laughed. I'm sorry, but my husband is right next to me. Man, that's not a good idea. Pete also replied in a funny manner. Then there are Pierce Brosnan, Cate Blanchett, Mel Gibson, Tom Hanks, Edward Norton, Jessica Alba, Keira Knightley, Hugh Jackman. Over the past year, Eric has gradually built up his own network resources. At the premiere of Red Dragon last year, I still need my father's help. This year, just one phone call is enough, and half of Hollywood has to give itself face. Even Theron, Nico, and Olsen sisters were in attendance. They didn't ask for it, they had to come. Eric can't say you don't come. The rivals are all present, and I can only hope that something exciting will happen. The last to arrive were Sergei Hasenfeld and Kate Winslet, who did not enter together, but one after the other. But seeing the two of them appear, Eric probably understood. After the lively red carpet is over, everyone enters the stage session, including all kinds of questions, narration, tidbits, and the like, as well as the introduction of various Transformers. It wasn't until the clock struck midnight that the lights in the screening room went out. On the big screen, after the lion roared, the Autobots officially appeared. If the time progress bar drags back 10 years, there is a word about movies that everyone is already familiar with. That is, multiple countries are released simultaneously. But in 2003, it was still difficult to do that. The benefits of simultaneous release are very obvious, and the most intuitive is the impact on piracy. Piracy is a rampant business all over the world, regardless of the country. The United States is the world's largest piracy country, especially for blockbuster movies. Often, just after landing in theaters, the gun version can be circulated the next day, and after 3 or 4 days, the disc has already begun to circulate in the underground market. This is the case in their own country, not to mention other countries that have delayed their releases, and by the time the movie starts, piracy has already been flying all over the sky. After seeing pirated copies, how many people would be willing to spend money to go to the cinema again? Although the simultaneous release cannot cure this problem, it can effectively attract the box office in prime time after the opening of the film. The audience wants to watch it, but can't get a pirated CD, and the gun version on the internet has not flowed out. If he can't hold it, he will naturally go into the cinema. With MGM's tireless efforts, Transformers has made breakthroughs in this area. It will be released simultaneously in more than 20 countries including North America, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Spain, Brazil, South Korea, Australia, and China. With this approach, it is expected to increase the box office by at least $50 million. If you're lucky, $80 million or even hundreds of millions is not impossible. Before the creation of all things, the source of fire existed, and no one knew where it came from. Knowing only that the energy contained in it can reforge the world and create life, this is where the life of the Transformers comes from. Like countless races, the presence of power is coveted. There were those who wanted to do good, and there were those who wanted to do evil, and war broke out. In the protracted strife, the planet Cybertron was reduced to ruins, and countless compatriots fell. Eventually, the source of fire ended up in the universe, and we explored in endless darkness, visiting every galaxy, every planet. A long time passed, and when hope faded, a new planet was found. So the Transformers set off for it, and there was the last hope, Earth. On the big screen, with the narration of Optimus Prime, part of Cybertron's history is revealed. In just 1 minute and 15 seconds, the process of this alien civilization from glory to destruction has been shown. The camera is from far and near, Countless transformers are fighting, and finally they turn into a pile of broken copper and iron and fall. In a close-up of the frame, a transformer is struck by a fire. It's just an iron bump, but it makes a vivid facial expression. The mechanical palm tried to grab its own fire, but in the end it could only close its eyes in pain. In order to save money, the original Michael Bay did not make a picture of Cybertron at all. This kind of handling made Eric feel a little regretful, and he had to do better. So in order to show the style of Cybertron, this opening special effect alone burned nearly $5 million. And the effect was also explosive. He could clearly hear the exclamations in the theater one after another. A film critic from the Los Angeles Times nodded secretly and noted, "Judging from this picture alone, the special effects are definitely the top level in the industry, and MGM really didn't brag." If the follow-up special effects are also at this level, then even if the plot is garbage, I believe no audience will care, and the adrenaline rush is enough to smooth everything out. Eric sat Sergey to his right. He also participated in the pre-trial meeting, but the special effects at that time were not perfect enough, mainly to watch the plot. Now seeing this picture, I can't help but flash the toys on the assembly line in my mind, but I didn't expect that one day it would be vividly presented in front of my eyes. This feeling is really shocking and moving, and listening to the exclamations around him, Eric couldn't help but laugh. That's where it goes, and then there's the real appetizer. In the picture, there is an endless desert, and a formation of V-22 Ospreys is moving forward quickly. Inside the cabin, the camera advances, and a group of GIs who have obviously just finished their mission are chatting, and the most prominent thing in the crowd is naturally Ryan Reynolds. After a few words, his captaincy was demonstrated, and the armband hung the rank of major. Soon, under a large vista, the magnificent military base was in full view. All kinds of fighters, main battle tanks, armored vehicles are neatly arranged. The U.S. soldiers with big shoulders and round waists are either exercising or training, giving the audience a feeling of being extremely strong. It's like saying that our army is so strong and our stick guys are so powerful. And the military fans in the audience suddenly got a treasure. These equipment are too familiar to them, and they are real shots at a glance, and that kind of texture is not something that CG can simulate at all. Immediately after that, one of the Decepticon members, a stun-disguised gunship, appeared and quickly approached the military base. After the warning failed, the two F-22 Raptor fighters took off directly into the air, preparing to monitor and warn each other. The takeoff process of the fighter plane was filmed in real time, and the clip of the sky soaring was provided by the Ministry of Defense and cut in by Eric. The process was so smooth that even the numbers of the two F-22s were deliberately painted exactly the same. At this time, in the unknown movie theater, Harvey Weinstein secretly hid in the corner to watch. Just like 2 days ago, Eric also secretly hid in the corner to watch the Polar Expedition. Now the thought in his head is, what the fuck did this kid say about moving the Ministry of Defense? This scene looks like a military base filmed in real life, and the Pentagon guys have to vomit blood before they have to ask for a price. Did he spend all the money on this? The special effects for more than an hour were perfunctory? If that's the case, that's a good thing, and you'll laugh in your dreams. But the plot that followed completely slapped him. Electricity. 86 minutes and 40 seconds, the dizzy and disguised gunship slowly landed in the base. Immediately surrounded by several Humvee armored vehicles, the machine guns were aimed at the pilot, and the slightest movement of the opponent would be immediately torn to pieces. The eyes of the audience and critics were glued to the big screen, and everyone knew that the gunship was a Decepticon in disguise, and it was about to deform. Snort, snort, turn off the engine and put your head in your hands, shouted the lieutenant colonel leading the team. In response to him was the fading figure of the pilot. It's a holographic projection. Someone in the audience immediately shouted, which instantly attracted the attention of many annotators. He hurriedly shrunk his head in apologies and signaled that he would pay attention. On the big screen, just as people expected, in the complex and sensual mechanical sound, the gunship suddenly began to deform. The wings and tail were retracted, the hatch was protruding, and in less than 3 seconds in the widening eyes of the American soldiers, it had transformed into a huge mechanical life. The float at the top left of the screen. Faction: Decepticons. Name: Vertigo. Metamorphic Mimicry: Sikorsky MH-23 Gunship. Abilities: Robotic Arm Machine Gun, Energy Pulse Wave, Chest Cannon, Jamming Stand, Photon Blaster Rifle, Rocket-Piercing Uranium Shell, Regenerative Armor. When doing the later stage, Eric thought about it for a long time and finally decided to add an introduction to the Transformers. First of all, the appearance of the Transformers in the movie is different from the comic animation, and it is more important to take care of the general audience. At least let them distinguish who is who. Otherwise, a few iron bumps will be dry, and the picture will move quickly, and the audience may not understand who wins and who loses, which will affect the perception. Oh my God! Seeing the dizziness and deformation, countless people on the big screen and in the movie theater exclaimed at the same time, "Fire!" Immediately after, machine guns and submachine guns fired together, and the picture suddenly burst into flames. However, the large-caliber bullet that could penetrate the steel plate hit the vertiginous body, only causing a crisp sound, and there was no real damage at all. Bang! Boom! Trance. On the other hand, he was dizzy and fired from his left arm, instantly knocking a Humvee armored car into a sieve. With a slap of the right hand, an armored car has already been knocked away. Its chest glowed orange, and a beam of cannon light streaked around it. Dozens of American GIs and several armored vehicles did not resist even for a second. They were vaporized in an instant, and they could not scream. That is, for the PG-13 level, otherwise Eric would have to make a few American GIs being torn apart. In order to pass the trial, he could only choose to use more energy weapons. This not only shows the technological prowess of the Transformers, but also makes the picture not too bloody. Inside the command tower, the man with the rank of lieutenant general hurriedly issued an operational order and at the same time called the Pentagon and asked for help. But before the message could be sent, the soldier was already looking at him in horror. "General, the signal is jammed. We can only fight independently." On the other side, Ryan Reynolds led a group of men who wanted to drive tanks to meet the enemy. If the bullet doesn't work, it only means that the power is not strong enough, and you don't believe that the cannonball can't penetrate this mechanical monster. And just as they were about to launch the tank with this idea, someone else had already made a move. Several M1A1 Abrams main battle tanks rushed over from all directions, and in a hurry they also knocked over their own armored vehicles, but they didn't care. Not far away, the vertiginous right arm suddenly deformed, and the palm of the hand disappeared into a huge caliber rifle. Dense points of light shoot out of the rifle, and whenever they come into contact with a person or object, they immediately cause a violent explosion. On the runway, more than a dozen fighters that had not had time to take off were blown into shreds. The building and the soldiers' quarters were even more ablaze. In a moment, the Vertigo had cleared the surroundings. In the close-up, its eyes glow, and after scanning the entire base, it finally landed in the center of the conning tower. Just as it was about to walk over, after a few cannon shots, a shell fell on it. The force of the impact caused the Vertigo to retreat again and again, and the flames of the explosion finally broke through its armor. Seeing this, the American soldiers were overjoyed, and it turned out that the mechanical monsters on the opposite side were not invincible, and their weapons could also damage the enemy. But before the soldiers could rejoice for a few seconds, the stun and damaged armor had begun to heal rapidly. In the close-up shot, the soldier's originally excited expression froze in seconds. The Vertigo was also angered by the constant harassment of the US military, and I saw a blue and white pulse energy wave, which suddenly spread around with it as the center. Everywhere they went, people turned on their backs, and the main battle tanks weighing dozens of tons were instantly lifted into the sky. The energy wave passed, turning dozens of meters around the Vertigo into scorched earth. Seeing this situation, many soldiers were stunned and looked at inaction in a daze. Don't just watch, that monster's armor hasn't fully healed yet. Aim and attack. At Ryan Reynolds' roar, a group of soldiers came to their senses and poured bullets into the vertiginous wounds. This time, the stun did not let them attack, but protected the damage of his own part. But it wasn't in the mood to chase the minions, and the armor on its back opened, and a mechanical scorpion sprang out of it. The scorpion burrowed into the ground and slashed at Ryan Reynolds' team. The ground seemed to be run over by an excavator, causing a flood of rubble. The Vertigo didn't care about anything else, walked straight to the conning tower and slapped the roof off. A huge robotic arm grabbed in and plugged directly into the information processing device. General, it's stealing core secrets. Turn off the device. No, it's disturbed, and it can't be forcibly closed. Hearing this, the lieutenant general picked up a fire axe and slashed at the wire. Then the screen goes black. The battle comes to an end, and the camera turns to the male protagonist Sam's school. Call. In the cinema, countless people exhaled heavily, and their nervous mood relaxed. The 5-minute battle scene shows the power of the Transformers to the fullest. Eric gives the Decepticons a more terrifying combat power, far more terrifying than Michael Bay's version. Not only are the weapon systems more abundant, but the lethality is even higher. And they have the ability to regenerate armor, which means that it is impossible for human weapons to easily damage Transformers, and the battle will only be more fierce. It's so exciting. This war scene is really TND and emotional. Yes, Hollywood can make this kind of big production, 5-minute scene. I'm afraid the money burned can make a domestic blockbuster. That's right, I went to see He Ping's Heroes of Heaven and Earth a few days ago, and the propaganda also had Hollywood joining. It was a Sino-American co-production, and now I suspect that they are false propaganda. I also watched Zhou Yu's Train with my girlfriend last month. Anyway, I'm not the audience, and compared to Transformers, I can only say a word. The box office of Heroes of Heaven and Earth has broken 20 million. What do you think of Heroes of Heaven and Earth? How much can Transformers do at the box office? It will definitely surpass Heroes, and maybe it will be able to challenge Titanic. In a movie theater in Shanghai, 2 young people in their 20s were whispering, and the scene just now gave them a huge shock. Not only Shanghai, but also all countries that were released at the same time, there are such scenes in movie theaters. The film critic of The Independent pouted helplessly. His own newspaper and MGM have never dealt with each other. He also came with a mission, and the task was to make the black Transformers. But after only 10 minutes of play, he knew that this task was not easy to do. Bitch guys, how do I write this? Does it make me criticize a commercial blockbuster for not being literary enough? Eric Cooper, this kid is really amazing, going to a military base to shoot and controlling a crew of thousands of people. Is there really a natural filmmaker? Awesome. Wow. Damn. Great. 3,455 movie theaters, including 3 major theater chains and numerous independent movie theaters, can be found in almost all of the United States. Coupled with the simultaneous release of more than 20 countries, the number of movie theaters exceeds 10,000. At this moment, in these movie theaters, the audience is exclaiming in unison. Only the opening 10-minute scene, many people have already decided in their hearts that it is worth the ticket price. On the big screen, The bright neon light shines on the campus, and the actor Sam, played by Chris Evans, makes a brilliant appearance. Because he was asked by Eric to lose weight when filming, Chris Evans was 1.8 meters tall, but his actual weight was only about 150 pounds. He was wearing a t-shirt and jeans and canvas shoes under his feet, and he didn't look strong, like an ordinary American high school student. Of course, if you focus on his face, you can feel the handsomeness of Leon Light. My great-great-grandfather was the famous Captain Vidvik, who was one of the first recorded people to explore the North Pole. That's what he left me with glasses, and you can see that this style and shape, as well as its special materials, are unique to the craftsmanship of more than 100 years ago. And this sextant, and this monocular, and this. But then he was sent to a psychiatric hospital because he was talking about frozen people all day long and drawing all sorts of symbols. In class, Sam is giving his own report, and the camera is given to the others in the class. Most of them laughed. Suddenly, a beautiful face enters the frame, and Godot looks at Sam curiously, with a seemingly absent smile on the corner of his mouth. That expression seems to be saying, the story this kid tells seems to be quite interesting. Yale, if it weren't for the loud noise, I would have fallen asleep. I really don't understand why you guys like Transformers. But now I'm a little interested. At least the director's vision is not bad. The hero and heroine are very well chosen. What is his name? It's quite handsome. In the audience, a girl who was forcibly pulled in by her boyfriend asked. The boyfriend was completely attracted to it at the moment and casually said his name. It's Chris Evans, isn't it? I'm going to go and watch his movie when it's over. Okay, whatever you dear, but for now you'd better shut up. I'm going to focus on the movie. After a vertiginous and shocking appearance, a second Transformer Bumblebee made his debut. Sam and his dad go to the used car market and take aim at the Chevrolet Camaro. For this implantation, Chevrolet paid $10 million for advertising and also gave away a lot of scrapped vehicles for filming. Belongs to the first financier of the crew, and the second financier is Nokia. In the end, under the operation of Bumblebee, Sam spent 4,000 yuan to drive the car away. The camera is focused on the Pentagon, an emergency meeting is taking place, and Colo Savini's cameo cyber expert makes an appearance. Not long ago, our military base was attacked by unknown persons. The distress signal was only halfway through when it was interrupted by interference. We've only had a few seconds of information. You're all experts in the field, and I need your help. The situation is urgent. There is a high probability that the other side will launch a second attack, and you must analyze the clues in the shortest possible time. The president has given the order, and at the moment the aircraft carrier battle group has left for the Persian Gulf. Hopefully not Russia or the Middle East. God bless America. This scene is obviously a very serious occasion, and the background music is also very solemn. But when it came to Russia and the Middle East, many viewers unconsciously burst out laughing. It has become a tradition for old American movies to be black in Russia, and after the 9/11 incident, the base has also become a frequent visitor. At an altitude of 10,000 meters, the U.S. President's car, Air Force One. A female agent brewed coffee and walked away, and next to her, there was a radio on the cabinet. Yar. Yow. As soon as the person left, the mechanical sound started, and the radio immediately deformed. Faction. Decepticons. Name. Confused. Deformation mimicry. Any small appliance. Abilities. Micro-energy gun. High-speed cutting frisbee. After revealing his true identity, Confusion acts like a nimble agent, disguised as an adult with holograms, and wanders around Air Force One for opportunities. The scene is somewhat similar to 007, but its tiny physique is extremely comical, making it feel tense and funny. This little guy is so cute. On Eric's left, Godot said with a smile. Yes, it's cute, but it's also dangerous. I have a hunch that this little guy's toy sales will not be low. Sergey touched Eric's shoulder. In the end, after intense exploration, Confusion successfully stole the information he wanted and left in a police car disguised as a roadblock. In the desert at this time, the combat team led by Ryan Reynolds was fleeing in several broken armored vehicles. Everyone looked disgraced, and James McAvoy bandaged Michael Fassbender next to him. "You have to be careful. That's all I have on me, and if the wound breaks open again, I might bleed to death." Touching the wound, the shark gasped and let out a groan of pain. "Phew. I can't accept this kind of death. If you really live, if you don't go down, you'll die with that monster." Tom Hardy checked the firearm, patted him on the shoulder and comforted, "Don't be discouraged. At least we're alive now." And probably the only survivors who have seen the true colors of those monsters, we need to bring back useful information. Under the scorching sun, I don't know how long I walked, and finally a village appeared in front of me. Ryan Reynolds let out a long breath. "Speed, we need to call the army." But at this moment, the rear of the convoy suddenly burst into the sky. A black soldier hurriedly shouted, "It's coming. Hurry up, hurry up. Step on the gas pedal and go. It's too late, fire." "Ah. Come on, son of a bitch." The cannon fired tongues of fire, but it couldn't stop the yellow sands from approaching. I saw the sandstorm getting closer and closer, getting closer and closer. Suddenly, two huge mechanical pliers were exposed to the ground, but their bodies were still buried in the ground. Some viewers realized that it was the mechanical scorpion released by Vertigo that was chasing them. 50 meters, 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters. Boom! With the explosion of a rocket, a huge mechanical scorpion leaps out of the ground. The metal structure is like a hard scale armor draped over its body. 20 meters away, the cold pincers slammed into a Humvee. Then another plier followed. The military Humvee, which claimed to dare to confront tanks, was torn in half and thrown away like papier-mâché. Several soldiers jumped out of the car in advance, but the driver was not so lucky and was directly thrown by the scorpion to a height of more than 10 meters, and the fate can be imagined. Faction: Decepticons. Name: Sark Giant, mass-produced weapon. Morph mimicry: Scorpion. Abilities: high-speed tail pin, back rocket launcher, double pincer beam gun. The teammates were in danger, and the other two cars hurriedly attacked separately in circles. Ordinary firearms have no effect on the Scorpion, and only the intensive bombardment of machine guns can penetrate part of its scale armor. Surrounded in the middle to walk the dog, the Scorpion's back immediately shot rocket artillery, and the remaining two armored vehicles hurriedly dodged, but were still knocked down by the aftermath. Ryan Reynolds spat out the sand in his mouth and roared, "Cover! Cover! I need time." With that, he threw away his useless firearm and hurried to the village not far away. The villagers were already trembling with fright, hiding in their houses and not daring to come out. It took a lot of effort, and I also experienced the farce of Asan's operator in the middle and finally got in touch with the military. Immediately, the rousing music finally sounded, and the U.S. troops, who had been holding back for dozens of minutes, finally started to move. Connect to the nearest military base. Roger. Predator drones are about to arrive. Send a mixed attack fleet to support. Coordinate the code TW at 3 o'clock in UTC. Warthogs take off in formation, with a kill radius of 1A and a dangerous distance of 300 feet. The Air Grim Reaper is about to be in place, taking the 105 howitzer group to cover it with dense fire. Watch out for friendly forces. Please go to the obstacle immediately to dodge. Boom! 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 On the big screen, 5 warthogs in a formation fired missiles at the same time. A dozen missiles dragged their tails and accurately hit the Scorpion. The violent explosion suddenly caused yellow sand to fill the sky, and metal parts were blown away one by one. Whoosh! But then, dozens of laser beams were shot out of the yellow sand, which instantly detonated the two warthogs, and two huge fireballs appeared in the air. Damn, that guy hasn't been eliminated yet. The smoke cleared, and the scorpion raised its broken claws and was about to continue the attack. At the critical moment, the aerial gunboat relay appeared, and the howitzer group that fell from the sky covered this mechanical monster with dense fire within a radius of 100 meters. The claw that had just been raised was suddenly blown apart. Mortally attacked, the scorpion finally wilted, and one rolled over and disappeared into the earth, leaving only broken parts and half a broken tail all over the ground. Is this the combat capability of our army? It looks handsome. Yes, I can see that my blood is boiling. What happened to that air gunboat just now? Is there really such equipment? I don't understand military affairs. Is the equipment in this in reality? Or did the director make it up? I don't know. Maybe it's a good choice to join the army after graduating from high school. Not necessarily. You see that it is so difficult to deal with a Decepticon mass-produced weapon. I really don't know how many people will die next. What are you afraid of, and the Autobots? Yes, but what about the Autobots? Why hasn't Optimus Prime been on the show? More than 50 minutes have passed in the movie, and the Decepticons appear one after another, but the Autobots have only one Hornet and have not yet shown their abilities. Many viewers are waiting for the appearance of the Autobots, especially the appearance of the boss Optimus Prime. As a director, Eric certainly understands what the audience wants to see, and the foreshadowing is almost complete. It's time for Brother Zhu to appear on the stage. In the abandoned parking lot, Sam is targeted by a barricade, and Bumblebee rescues the scene in an emergency and takes the male and female protagonists into the car. The first head-to-head confrontation between the Autobots and the Decepticons appears. Bumblebees and barricades engage in a fierce battle for Sam's ownership. The two iron bumps fisted to the flesh, sparks and lightning along the way, causing countless explosions, and the audience who watched it was hooked. The heroine played by Godot is also different from the Vase in ordinary American blockbusters, and she cuts the confusion in half with her excellent strength. Yar! There was a scream, and the confused head was kicked away. Sam looked at the other party with some surprise. I didn't expect you to be so powerful.
HMPH, Ive praktice Chinese Kung Fu.
In the confusion of the two, Bumblebee takes them to the observatory. Above the stars, in the background of magnificent and passionate music, I saw a few fireballs falling from the sky and falling in different directions. The shocking appearance method immediately attracted an exclamation from the audience. They thought that the Autobots would also be like the Decepticons, already lurking on Earth. But I didn't expect it to land on Earth by a meteorite. It's coming. The Autobots are finally here. In movie theaters around the world, countless audiences, especially men, stared ahead. In the abandoned parking lot, the hero and heroine stand side by side. Bright lights in the distance, sirens sounded around them, and several different vehicles surrounded the two in the center. In the shocked expressions of the male and female protagonists, the Autobots began to deform at the same time. Close-ups cut to each of the Transformers' bodies. The intros in the screen appear continuously. Faction: Autobots. Name: Ambulance. Deformation mimicry: Hummer H2 Rescue Ambulance. Abilities: Heal Laser, Super Cutter, Beam Mega Energy Gun, Shield Stand, Regenerative Armor. Faction: Autobots. Name: Sir. Metamorphic Mimicry: Pontiac Winter Solstice. Abilities: High-Speed Machine Gun, Rotating Machine Gun, Crescent Wave Cannon, Burst Enrichment Round, Regenerative Armor. Faction: Autobots. Name: Iron Sheet. Deformation Mimicry: Jim Satopkic C4500. Abilities: Radiant Missile, Energy Blaster, Photon Bomb, Jamming Stand, Regenerative Armor. Faction: Autobots. Name: Optimus Prime. Deformation Mimicry, Peterbilt 379 Modified Tractor, Truckhead. Abilities: Ion Blaster, Fusion Cannon, Neutron Energy Sword, Super Armor, Regenerative Armor. 6 Autobots stand there, like a world-famous painting. Many critics have predicted that this scene will forever be recorded in film history. In the shot, the male and female protagonists have their backs to the audience, while Optimus Prime is facing the audience, and the big close-up is directly slapping his face. It's as if Optimus Prime is speaking to the audience in the theater. Hello humans, I'm Optimus Prime. We are autonomous mechanical beings from the planet Cybertron. You can call us Autobots. We came to Earth to find a source of fire, and we must not let it fall into the hands of Megatron. Otherwise, it will transform all the machinery on Earth into an army, and humanity will go to extinction. Sam, now you have a huge mission.